In today's video, I am going to show you how to knit a simple garter stitch scarf. Super simple, one row repeat throughout the entire scarf. You can customize this by casting on as many stitches as you want for the width of your scarf, and then just working a one row repeat, all knit stitches to create this really nice garter stitch scarf. This scarf was made with Hometown by Lion Brand, 100% acrylic yarn. You get 64 yards in one of these. For my scarf, I used 4 total balls of this Hometown. It is a 6-weight bulky yarn, and this green is the color Everglades. For your needle size, this scarf was made with an 8mm or size 11 pair of knitting needles. I like the ones that have the little cord between them, but you can use 2 individual needles as well. This makes for a nice, bulky, really fast working project. But of course, you can use any yarn and any size needles that fit well with that yarn. To start your garter stitch scarf, you're going to want to start with a very long tail, depending on how many stitches you're going to cast on for your width. So I'm going to make sure that my tail is long enough. Sometimes this takes a couple of tries to get it right. You don't want your tail after you cast on to be super long. You want to use as much of this yarn as you can in the actual scarf. For my scarf, I casted on a total of 23 stitches. So I'm just going to maybe pull a few feet from the end. So this is from my working end, still attached to the main ball of yarn, and the other end is what my tail will become after I cast on. To cast on, I like to separate my fingers like this, and work the yarn around my fingers. There are many different ways you can cast on, so whatever method you're most familiar with or works best for you, go ahead and cast on 23. I'm going to continue working the yarn around my needles until I have 23 total stitches on this needle over here. Once you have your desired number of stitches on your needle, and it can be a multiple of any number, so any number of stitches works for this. There is no stitch count that you have to have. I did 23 for my scarf, but you can do whatever number that you want for that width. All of my stitches are on my right-handed needle. I'm going to bring the other needle into my left hand, like this. If you're using that cord, it'll be something like this. So this is what it should look like after we cast on. You should have 2 tails running from this needle from your last cast on stitch. You're going to make sure that you're using the end that is attached to the ball of yarn. So I have quite a bit of excess from my end that I was using to cast on with. So I'm just going to kind of put that aside and grab hold of the end that is attached to the ball of yarn. And we're going to flip everything. So you want, as you're working this first row, you want your stitches, the needle with your stitches on it, to be in your left hand. Make sure you're keeping that tail out of the way and not using it, and you're going to grab that working end. So to make a garter stitch, We're just going to insert our hook under that first stitch on our needle. So from front into the back, grab our working yarn, wrap that yarn around that needle that is behind, so your right-handed needle. Push that needle through the stitch on your left-handed needle and slide it to the right-handed needle. So let's do that again. From the front to the back, wrap around and through that loop and off your hook onto that right-handed needle. And this is how you do the knit stitch. And if you do this throughout your entire project, you get a garter stitch. So you're just going to be going right from the front to the back, around, through the loop, and off your hook for each and every stitch. It works up really quickly. It's a great project to begin with if you're interested in learning how to knit, or if you sort of know how to knit but you want to practice some of your stitches. This is a great project to do to practice your knit stitches. And by using a bulkier size yarn, you get a project that works up just a little bit more quickly. So from front to back, around, through the loop, and off your hook. You're just going to keep working this for as many stitches as are on your left-handed needle. And then all of the stitches will then be on your right-handed needle. And as you come to the end, I've got 2 stitches left. Just be careful that those stitches don't slide off your needle before you work them. You want to make sure you're working each and every stitch. And there we go. You're going to turn. So you always want to start a row with the stitches on your needle in your left hand. You're just going to kind of switch those needles back and forth and do it all again. From the front to the back, around, through the loop, and off your hook. Same thing all the way across. And you're just going to work this until you run out of yarn. Every row is exactly the same. So it does get very repetitive, but like I said, it works up really quickly. You get a really nice, dense garter stitch fabric. And it is a great way to practice some of those knitting skills. And one more. Flip your needles so your empty needle is on your right, your full needle is on your left, and you're just going to do it all over again, front to back. Loop the yarn around through the loop and off your needle. So you're going to work this until you have a desired length that you want for your scarf. If you're interested in making the exact scarf that I am working on with this hometown yarn, I will put all of the details down below, how many stitches I cast it on, which is 23, and how many total rows I did. I'm just working this until I run out of yarn. And I'll put the measurements and everything of the finished scarf down below, so you can use that as a reference. Once you've completed the entire length that you want for your scarf, you're going to start to fasten off. For this scarf, I start by knitting the first 2 stitches, and then I slip stitch the first stitch that I knit over that second one and off the needle. You knit the next one from your left-handed needle onto your right-handed needle, and you slip that first stitch that was already on your needle over the stitch that you just knit and off the needle, and you just continue working in this way. What you want to do, I've already knit one, we're going to knit the next stitch, put your hook under that first stitch that was already on your needle, over this stitch and off your needle. Now this stitch that you just knit is on your right-handed needle. Go ahead, knit the next stitch, and slip that first stitch up and over and off. And you just keep doing this for as many stitches as you have on your left-handed needle. You want to make sure that your stitches are not too tight, because you want a sort of a loose cast off edge. You're going to get something that looks a little bit like this. So we're just going to keep working this all the way across. I have one more stitch. Go ahead and knit, work that one, slip that one over. I've got one stitch here on my right-handed needle. I'm going to go ahead and cut this end just a little bit shorter and weave it in. So you can just pull up on that needle all the way through, tighten it up a little bit, weave in your ends, and you have cast it off, and you've got a nice scarf. And once you work up those 4 balls of yarn, you get a really nice soft scarf. You can add fringe on the end if you want to, or you can just leave it as a nice straight edge. since I've used all 4 of my balls of yarn for this project, I am just leaving my ends without fringe. You can see the nice garter stitches, all of those knit stitches, if you pull them apart, and it's just a really soft, snuggly fabric. 1 row repeat throughout the entire thing. A great project to work on if you're learning how to knit in front of the TV, just relaxing. It goes by pretty quickly and you get a really nice finished scarf. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this tutorial helped you, and let me know down below if you decide to make one of these yourself. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye everyone.